What if there was a real witch version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch? Welcome to another reboot with the chilling adventures of Sabrina. Welcome to the complete story series where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Our story begins in Westbridge, Massachusetts on the 31st of October, 1951, in the home of Edward Spellman. He was a high priest in the Church of Night, scholar, occultist, and a father. It was to be a special night for his daughter's first birthday, but as the sisters gathered, he went to go get his wife and his daughter and he found them missing. Edward was warned that marrying a mortal woman would be breaking the witch code, and now that mortal woman has seemed to have taken his child away in an attempt to save her. It doesn't take long for Edward to find his wife Diana, and she begs him to not take away their daughter. She just wants more time with her, but Edward tells her sadly that won't do. After taking the young girl, Diana says that if he doesn't want to give her back, she will tell them. She will tell everyone what they are. So he places his hand on her forehead and it begins to burn as he destroys her mind, telling her, "No, you won't. But to be clear, I'm already damned. Both of us are." As years passed, the young girl Sabrina would grow up living with her dad's sisters, Hilda and Zelda. As he had gone missing on her 6th birthday, Sabrina received her familiar, a talking cat named Salem. As more years passed, Sabrina would attend her school for witches, but rumors of her being a half-breed began to travel around. So on her first day of 6th grade, Sabrina was teased, with everyone calling her a half-breed, and after her Aunt Hilda scared the girl saying those things, her Aunt Zelda decided that maybe it was time for them to leave Westbridge. This way, Sabrina could grow up and have a choice in her life, a place where she could create her own destiny without having it thrust upon her. And so it was decided that the three would move to Greensdale, and they would join the coven there, and they would live in the old funeral home. While living in their new home, a couple of years later, Sabrina would come home to find a new member of the family living with them, her cousin Ambrose. As Sabrina takes him to his room in the attic, he says that the attic would be much better than the stocks, since he did take away a boy's hands at school, which he totally gave back, but High Priest Crowley wasn't very happy about it. A few months later, Sabrina gets ready for her first day of school, which Ambrose convinces her that they could use a glamour spell to change the way she looks. But Sabrina tells him that she likes the way she looks, even if her hair is turning a little white. For the first day, it was pretty normal, that is until she saw him, Harvey Kinkle. It was like he was straight out of a movie, or what a Greek god would look like. And once she gets home, she tells Ambrose all about him. Ambrose asks if she's sure that she doesn't want a glamour spell, and she tells him no. But she would like Harvey to like her, just a little. Salem says that she knows her aunts would be happy, right? It's prohibited for a witch to consort with mortals. But Sabrina tells him that that's how her parents were. Salem says exactly, and look where that got them. It's been years and no one knows where her parents are. Though she thought it would probably be a bad idea, Sabrina decides that maybe a small spell won't hurt to at least have him notice her. So the next day at school, Harvey does, and the two of them plan to go to the movies that weekend. But elsewhere, two young witches from the town of Riversdale try to summon a succubus to help them settle a blood rivalry, but by accident, they manage to set their succubus free. This woman wandered around naked, not remembering anything but bits and pieces of things. She was to marry someone named Edward, but then there was a mortal woman who took him away, Diana, and then she took her own life. That's why her face is missing. Now that she's back from Gehenna, she can make good on a blood atonement. She has plenty of time. After living in the waters of a pond for about a year, the woman decided that it was time for her to get back to work, and she set off for Massachusetts. While wandering the forests of Westbridge, though, she found it. She found him, Edward, but he was trapped within a tree. For someone to do that to Edward, they would have to have been a powerful witch, or many witches working together. Soon, though, she would learn where Edward's bones were buried and remember Diana, the harlot that ruined everything. And with that, she burned the tree. She then used the ash from the burned tree to cast a finding spell to locate Diana and the Hearthstone Clinic for the mentally ill. Here she found her, however she was unable to communicate because of how Edward had left her. The woman told her not to worry, she will explain. Her name was Iola, and long ago she was with Edward Spellman at the zoo, thinking that he was ready to ask her to marry him. But instead, he told her that he had met someone else, a mortal woman, who wasn't a part of their coven. He had spoken with the council already, and though it was unorthodox, they had made an exception. They understood that he needed a vessel. Once she learned of his betrayal, she then cast herself into the lion pen, where she allowed the lions to kill her, eating her flesh and dining on her muscles. However, her life did not end as she found herself in Gehenna, a particular circle of hell for suicides, and then she sat pondering what she would do to both of them when she returned. But seeing Diana in her current condition, Iola decides that she'll have mercy on her and provide her clarity, but not fully yet. Soon. Though, the doctors probably won't believe that she's sane again. Upon leaving the clinic though, a nurse stops her asking if she knew Mrs. Spellman's daughter, Sabrina. They haven't seen her in a while, not since she went into the care of Mr. Spellman's sisters. Iola stops and asks if she would happen to know where it is that they are all staying. Later that night, Sabrina sleeps in her room and dreams of someone chasing her through the woods. When she stops, she realizes that the woman chasing her is her mother, and she comes with a warning. She tried to protect her from her father and his sisters, but now she's coming for her, the Queen of Hell! But before she could say her name, arms reach from the trees, covering her mouth, and then Sabrina wakes up. Sabrina tries to remember what the dream was, but decides that it doesn't matter. She has a big week ahead of her with tryouts for the school musical and her 16th birthday. That birthday decides if she accepts the baptism, which accepts the Dark Lord's final blessing, or not, and to go with Harvey to the party after the school's pep rally. So Tuesday, Sabrina tries out for the musical, but the following morning, the students begin to talk about the rumors of their drama, and the choir teacher, Miss Gardenia, starts having a stroke and falling into a coma. Wondering if the musical would be canceled, the students learned that it was in fact still on, and their replacement teacher would be Miss Evangeline Port, and she will take over. But what we know is that Miss Evangeline Port is actually Iola. After class, Iola stops Sabrina, asking if she can talk to her for a moment. Sabrina tells Harvey that she'll catch up with him, but as she walks over, Iola says that she just wanted to talk to her about the musical. After looking at Miss Gardenia's casting notes for the musical Bye Bye Birdie, she was planning on casting Harvey as Birdie, but just between them. She would also like to cast Sabrina as Kim. Sabrina tells her thank you for trusting her with that role. She'll definitely not let her down, and as she walks away, Iola under her breath says, "No, Mutt, you won't." As she leaves, Sabrina tells Harvey that Mrs. Porter wanted to give them some good news, but they have to be hush-hush about it. He's going to be Birdie, and she's going to be Kim in the musical. Harvey says that that's great news, and the two of them kiss. And then Harvey tells her that they should celebrate with something special. Sabrina says definitely, maybe they should go bowling, but as they drive off, Harvey tells her that maybe they could do something a little more special for her birthday. He knows that they agreed to wait, but Sabrina tells him that she knows it is frustrating for both of them, but she can't. Not for a while longer. The truth is that she can't have any physical relationships with a mortal before the age of 16. She then tells him that even though it's going to be her birthday, she can't do anything that night. She has plans with her family, and it's a family-only thing, so... But meanwhile, on top of Harvey's car, a crow sits and listens, and then it flies back to Iola's classroom to tell her what's going on. Iola says that of course Harvey can't come with Sabrina to the most unholiest of events. It would be bad for a mortal to see that. She then begins to draw a symbol on the chalkboard, telling the crow that she needs him to go into the woods and look for a clearing, and a stone altar with this symbol on it. The next day during a football game, Iola mentally tells Harvey to look at her, causing him to miss a catch with her rather low cleavage. Once the game is over, Iola speaks with Harvey, telling him that she's sorry that she distracted him. He's a 16-year-old boy with a lot of things on his mind. However, the real reason that she needed to talk to him was because she overheard some rumors about Sabrina sneaking out tonight for her birthday, going into the woods at the edge of the town. For what, she's not sure. A boy, maybe? And he looks back at her asking, what woods would that happen to be then? As the night begins to set, Sabrina begins to get ready for her baptism. And as she leaves, Ambrose and Salem tell her that they picked out a lovely goat for her to ride in on. Stinky, but kinda sweet, right? She hops in the goat, and then her and her aunts begin to fly through the air. And as they reach their destination, they begin to see the blue flames surrounding the altar. Hilda tells her to be brave as she steps into the flames. They won't burn her, just her soul, and only a tiny bit. It will be the final cleansing. When they enter, they see a crowd of other women in robes, and then the Queen of the Sabbath arrives riding a black stag. She tells Sabrina to step forward and receive her unholy communion, and Sabrina kneels and begins to pray. Her next step will be to provide a blood sacrifice, which will be the goat that she rode in on. Though she didn't want to, Zelda tells her to not be weak. One swift blow to the back of the neck. Sabrina raises the blade above her head, and then thunk! As she stands there covered in the goat's blood, Queen Delilah tells her to turn around and greet their king, Lord of the Church of the Night. Satan steps out while everyone begins to chant, "Hail Satan!" And then he lays a book in front of Sabrina, telling her that she spilled blood for him. Now write her name in his book and become his handmaiden. Sabrina stands there holding the quill about to write her name when she hears someone scream it, and everyone turns to see Harvey. Blood still running down her face. Sabrina tells him that they will kill him. Run! And he does. But once he's clear, he stops. He came here to get Sabrina. He can't leave her. And then he sees her step out of the woods. He asks her what were those, and she leans leans in telling him witches, and he created a distraction allowing her to escape them. Now, she needs to give him a real grown-up kiss, just for him. Bewitched by her, Harvey does, but it wasn't Sabrina that he was kissing. Back at the ritual, Delilah shouts, asking what has she done? Does she realize what's going to happen? Vines wrap around Sabrina as she tells her that she didn't know, and Delilah continues shouting until Sabrina breaks free, stating that she doesn't know what's happening, but she can fix this. The vines shatter and they fly through the air and they cut Delilah, and she tells her, how do you think that this will end? You broke witch law, spat on the covenant, defiled the Lord's church. Sabrina tells her aunts to talk to her. She needs to go make this right, and she begins running off looking for Harvey. She calls out for him, but then she stops as she sees a witch holding his body with his face bitten off. And all she can think about is what it would have been like if she had chosen to reject the baptism rather than accept it. They could have grown up, had kids, lived a normal life. That's all gone now, and she falls to the ground. The next morning, Sabrina wakes up from fainting and sees her aunts waiting for her. The only thing that she wants to know is why they didn't save him. They explain that they needed a human sacrifice, since the Dark Lord was denied an initiate. So instead of her blood, they needed someone else's. Word begins to spread of the now missing Harvey Kinkle, and the town begins to search for him. Even Sabrina and her aunts go to look for him, even though they know what actually happened. Students from the other towns even begin to show up and help, and even the two young witches who accidentally set Iola free. And while they search a field, Iola appears before them, telling them that they are now going to help her with something. A few days later at school, Sabrina can't help get over the loss of Harvey as she sits in a bathroom crying. Outside the stall though, Iola knocks on the door telling her she didn't mean to overhear her, but she knows what it's like to lose a loved one. Of course, she can help bring Harvey back. That is, if Sabrina's interested. Later that night, Sabrina stands before the Witches' Council on trial for the crimes that she's committed against witch law, allowing Harvey to attend the unholy ceremony. She tells him that she had no clue that he was there. She would never betray their Dark Lord, as she crosses her fingers behind her back. She then places her hand on the coals of truth, which would burn her if she was lying, and she shows everyone that her hand is fine. Meanwhile, in the Fox Forest, Iola stands as one of the girl's hands are burned. Next is the witch needle, that when pierced through the hand will draw blood if lying, which is thrusted into Sabrina's hand, not spilling blood. And back in the forest, the other girl's hand begins to bleed now that it has a hole in it. Once the council confirms Sabrina's innocence, she's released back home, where she enters her room to find Iola. Iola tells her that she survived the trial, with her help. Now they're going to finish off the next step. Iola holds out her hand and Sabrina takes it, and the two of them fly out of her room over to the forest where the two girls, Betty and Veronica, the young witches from before, are waiting. The next step in bringing Harvey back is to create a ritual site using his clothes and lighting candles and then chanting a verse from the Demonicon. Once complete, they'll all dance the infernal dance, and as they finish, a wind blows through, putting the candles out. And now they must wait. Days pass as everyone goes about their lives, and Sabrina sits and waits. But on the third night, Harvey's parents hear a knock at their door. Harvey's mother, Martha, jumps up stating it's him. It's their son. But his father, George, tells her that that is impossible. Martha runs to the door, but George grabs her, telling her to not let whoever that is in. And then during the struggle, she grabs a lamp, hitting her husband in the head. She then stands over him, telling him, "You never understood the bond between a mother and a son." She then slams the lamp down, crushing George's head. Bloody and smiling, Martha opens the door and she asks if it's really him. And Harvey stands there telling her, "No, I don't live here anymore. My name is Edward Spellman." And judging by the mess on the floor, we're going to get along just fine. And that concludes Volume 1 of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Definitely not the Sabrina the Teenage Witch story that we all knew from when we were kids. It is definitely an amazing retake on this character. If you want to find out more, don't forget, I'll give you the link down below as always. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian, where we can talk about All Hallows Eve.